Have you ever seen a game die? You know, you have an online game, you like it quite a bit, have some fun memories with it, and then poof! You can no longer play it, servers down, like it never existed. We live now in an age of live service games, an oversaturation to the point where a game can die in less than a month. Concord! There's already a sizable graveyard of online games that time left behind, and it will only continue to grow as time goes on. As successful as a live service online only game can be, it will eventually shut down. Even the big ones like League of Legends, Fortnite, any popular live service game that you can think of and have played, each one will eventually succumb to the passage of time. So, let me tell you of one, if not the online game I cherish the most, and how its fate is sealed. A game called Royale. These are games that are constantly updated to expand the amount of content on offer, or sometimes outright change it, both in the effort that the player never stops playing and the money never stops going in. Most are multiplayer focused without campaigns or story modes. It's something that evolved from simply adding content through updates to an already finished game, to some games just straight up being half complete when released. But I get it. It's cool to play a game, enjoy it, and you hear it's going to be more stuff added regularly. Sign me up. Sadly, this is something that only works if the game is popular enough and makes enough money to keep the machine going. The point I'm trying to make with this extended introduction is that live service games live or die by the support of the players, and if they're not profitable, there's no game. Now, with that established, let's go back a few years ago. The Battle Royale was at the forefront with Fortnite and PUBG, and a bunch of other games wanted a piece of that pie. Now, our story begins with a different game called Paladins, a hero shooter that has been surviving for a good 8 years, taking a fantasy approach compared to its direct contemporary Overwatch, which I'm gonna be honest, gameplay wise, I preferred and I put a lot of hours into it. Mostly between 2018 and 2021 when I played online games by my own. Maybe I'll hop into it to see what's different, but in this game, a game mode called Paladins Battlegrounds was released. Now, I never played it, I have to check, but I'm guessing when the mode was removed, I was just starting my Paladins phase. It didn't last very long, couldn't tell you why, but I'm guessing the balance of a hero shooter doesn't translate well to a battle royale. So, it passed me by, but I did jump into the game that came from this mode, Round Royale. Okay, so if you ever played Paladins, you can see a lot of DNA in this game, which makes it unique compared to other Battle Royale games. It's not a hybrid, just grabbed a lot of elements, maybe so it cut costs, but the result is nonetheless interesting and fun. Like any other Battle Royale, you play in a map of 100 players. There are different areas to loot weapons and armor. You get better stuff to survive or get clapped in the first few minutes. This is great and all, but let's go deeper. You can only carry 2 weapons, making you choose more carefully, in theory, which weapons to carry. You have unlimited ammo, so it's not like you have to manage resources or swap weapons when one runs out of ammo. You also have abilities a la hero shooters, where you use that ability and it enters a cooldown state, and if you played Paladins, a lot of these are ripped straight out of that game. Most of them are, if memory serves me right. Especially when I started playing it and it was a lot more apparent because I was still playing Paladins. I think the merge of hero shooter mechanics in Battle Royale is great. Makes the game hella fun, and the weapons are fun to use even if some don't sound very satisfying to me. Like the SMG or the assault rifle sound like wet farts. And again, a lot of weapons from paladins. You can also convert items you find in chests or lying about into shards, and you can use the said shards to forge items in forges. You can get better weapons, abilities, and also forge potions for the healing and armor. I think the system is fine, if it encourages people to gather around forges more so than any other place. There's a class system too, which in old Realm Royale, old was when I played it, was mostly for weapon proficiency, and maybe if there's an ability you like to utilize. I used a lot of hidden invisibility, basically, so I used a lot of assassin, and to this day, it's still my most leveled up by a very large margin. Oh, and also, you turn into a chicken when killed. You revive to live another 5 seconds because you respawn with less health. And that's if you can survive 30 seconds given to you, because it's more of a desperation mechanic. Okay, that's mechanics. But this isn't a retrospective in my usual manner. I'm not going to dissect the game because I don't really want to and don't have the time to. I'm going to talk about a game I remember playing when I was 13. And man, it was pretty fun playing it with friends back in the day. I played it mostly with one of my best buds, which to this day we still play together, although Marvel vs. Capcom and Dragon Ball Fighters. And if he's watching this, he knows he loves Zero. Anyway, I used to get home from school and just bolt to my computer to play some Ram Royale, and we did start winning a lot of matches consistently. Eventually, we started to go into the pattern of landing near a forge, getting enough shard forge good weapons, go to another forge to get more weapons, and it became of little variants eventually. It did help that at this time I was getting tired of online games by my own, but it was still a very fun game. And at the time I was getting semi-consistent updates, mostly with battle passes and skins, but it was somewhat thriving. I assume it wasn't seen as such at high risk because in 2020 the game went radio silent. The updates stopped coming, and the game just stood there. After a while was when me and my friends stopped playing. They stopped playing because the game became boring to them. And I stopped playing. Well, it's an online game by your own, and that blows. But I came back to it once in a while. Now, Ram Royale veterans might have a different view of that period, because it seems like my golden age of Ram Royale was when the game was going to shit. You see, the game was vastly different at launch, with classes that had exclusive weapons, no hit scan weapons, which was a shock considering my PTSD with fighting someone with an LMG or a Gatling gun. It had the engineer, a 5th class, compared to the 4 that were available when I started playing. Yeah, I can see why people gravitated towards the game, why it was so successful in the beginning, and why people were calling it a Fortnite killer, which is a statement that gets funnier with every passing year. Oh god. This would be shockingly idiotic for anyone who's not familiar with the developer Hi-Res Studios. But again, as a Paladins player, doing the math was easy. The company itself is not a bad developer. Well, the people in the front lines aren't, judging by how solid the core of the games are. It's the management that mismanages its games, and that's exactly what happened. Instead of adding content with each update, it simply removed the unique things of Ram Royale and made it Fortnite without building before there was Fortnite without building. And I say that as someone who loved the game in its 2019 state, but alas, that's how it went. The game faded out of relevancy, and everyone but a few dedicated players returned to it. Until, in 2022, a dedicated band of developers came together to release Ram Royale Reforged, the first update in over 2 years which attempted to revitalize the game, bringing back a lot of mechanics and balance from the original game. I jumped on it when it first came out, and let me tell you, it did feel a bit whack since I didn't know this was closer to launch date, and I have never played it that way. My friends just straight up didn't vibe with the changes. This update did spark some interest, but only momentarily, like a bug twitching after you stomp it. There were a few updates after this one, and a sort of arena mode where you jump into a map and kill people. I only played it a few times, didn't see the appeal, but it has promise. It's just, was undercooked, which was the biggest problem with Ram Royale Reforged. It was clearly made with the passion of the developers. but didn't have the manpower and resources to make it a reality, because a company that fucked the game over also didn't have faith in its resurgence. A damn shame, really. The game had so much potential, and I still think it has. The visual direction is great, and I just wish something good came out of it. A YouTuber named Cyberbolt made a video on Ram Royale a few years back. You can't watch it anymore because his channel got nuked because of some shenanigans with Fantasy Star Online. But his idea was to turn it into an MMO. Now, I don't think the map is suited for that, even back then and especially now with a smaller map. I don't know if it has the space or now resources, but I would love to see a game be turned into something. I thought maybe an adventure game or an RPG, because even the skybox elicits a fantasy world way larger than a simple battle royale, and I would just love to see something that expands the world and the lore that I'm pretty sure doesn't exist. And on another note, I think they should have worked closer with Paladins, using stuff added to that game and adapting it carefully to Ram Royale. Be resourceful considering the game's origins as a Paladin's side mode. And with that new map, they kinda did that. They reverted Fungal Jungle to its original state, which I don't like because I used to like its more vertical appearance, like treehouses on giant mushrooms. So you literally got high on mushrooms, eh? Eh? But in some places, they deadass just added a Paladins map. You see this? This is a deathmatch map from Paladins verbatim. So more stuff like that could have helped the content flow of the game when it was alive. But in the end, I went back a few times to the game, and a few months ago it was announced the game servers were shutting down. I wouldn't be surprised if the game's last few updates were developed with little support from the management, either made between larger projects, if not straight up during the developer's free time. Now, not saying that's what happened, don't quote me on that, but it wouldn't surprise me. This video is probably going up a few days before it shuts down, and that's gonna be a wrap, I guess. I wish I was wrong and someone revitalized the game. If at least fan servers for people who still want to play the game. It wouldn't revive from that, just keep it there for people who still wish to go back. I mean, if someone did get a fan server working, I'm gonna make a video on it for sure. But for now, it was fun having Ram Royale, you know? All the great times it gave me and my friends, for the countless matches played, and all the laughs had. I am forever grateful for Ram Royale. But, alas, back into the ether it goes, as all things will. And for you, well, may we meet again another time and place.